So, what the hell happened to Konami? It's hard to deny the fact that Konami's been going downhill in the gaming sphere for a while now. Castlevania hasn't been the hit it used to be, Contra's disappeared entirely, unless you like slot machines, and oh yeah, when I think Contra, I fucking think slot machines. Dance Dance Revolution has never really been on my radar, and Suikoden, which has gone unplayed by me as it sits in my already huge backlog, which is just like my huge pants log. The pants log is my penis. Anyway, Suikoden has vanished. For whatever reason, most likely because they've decided they no longer like money, Konami appears to be getting out of the video game business entirely. Rumors are flying that in addition to their famed auteur and biggest name, Hideo Kojima, being more or less removed from the company, Konami is merging their Dance Dance Revolution teams with their audio department, and they are headed for hundreds of layoffs. Mind you, these are mostly rumors, but it doesn't help that Konami recently delisted themselves from the stock exchange. Long story short, Konami is going the way of the dodo, at least the Konami I used to know. And I wanted to talk for a minute about my history with Konami games and why this sudden turn of events makes me sad. I know it's not the first game they made, not even for the NES, but the first Konami game I ever played was Contra. I spent many hours playing Contra, whether solo or with my buddy Jorge or with my little brother. It was an amazing action game that's still fun to play today. It wasn't long after that I was introduced to Castlevania and I fell in love again. Castlevania was tough, but addicting. Its difficulty was by design, and its horror aesthetic was rare at the time. From there, I was introduced to Life Force, my introduction to the Gradius series. I loved so many Konami games in the NES days, it feels pointless to name them all, but I'm gonna try anyway. The Goonies 2, Double Dribble, Stinger, Top Gun, Jackal, Castlevania 2 and 3, Super C, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, Top Gun: The Second Mission, and
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
The more astute of you might have noticed that one game is conspicuously absent. I didn't actually like Metal Gear when it came out. Ironically, it was kind of Konami's fault. The only other real war game I knew at the time was Contra, and that was all run-and-gun action. The idea of a game where you were better off avoiding combat was so alien to me that I simply couldn't get into Metal Gear. On the Game Boy, Konami provided me with a great handheld Contra with Operation C, and I seem to recall enjoying TMNT Fall of the Foot Clan as well. But the only Konami game I remember beating on the Game Boy was Castlevania Adventure, and I loved the end credits music. And then the Genesis came along. I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist, and that's about it, honestly. I only owned my Genesis for a year or two and didn't really get that much into it. But later on, sometime around 2000, I would wind up checking out both Contra Hardcore, which is one of the most batshit insane games I've ever played, and Castlevania Bloodlines, which is one of the most impressive games the Genesis ever had to offer. The SNES offered an endless cornucopia of Konami goodness. I played and loved so mmany games during this era. Gradius 3 was a great shooter, and I lost entire days playing Super Castlevania 4. Axlay kept me pounding on the shoot button, and Contra 3 The Alien Wars is still a crazy fun challenge. Cybernator is an underrated gem that I still plug in and play today, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time is still one of the best side-scrolling brawlers ever made. Lethal Enforcers kept me pulling the trigger on that crappy pack-in light gun, while Sunset Riders is a great side-scrolling shooter for 2. Castlevania Dracula X never grabbed me as much as Super Castlevania 4 did, but I do remember beating it once. Fun fact, I made the quarterfinals of a video game tournament held by Blockbuster, partially because one of the games was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, and I knew how to spam Raphael's drill attack and combo it into a throw if blocked. It's around this time that I got Snatcher for the Sega CD, and I've already said just about everything there is to say, but it's an epic game. Go check it out. Didn't play Konami games on the N64, managed to dodge what I'm told are truly awful Castlevania games, but college was the time of the PlayStation for me, and holy hell, did Konami bowl me over. It started with Castlevania Symphony of the Night, still to this day my favorite Castlevania, my number 5 best game of all time, and still a huge time sink for me, at least once a year. And then the majesty that is Metal Gear Solid. And while I didn't enjoy the NES Metal Gear, I obsessed over this game for ages. I simply could not get enough of the complex storyline, the actually talented voice acting, and the cinematic presentation, all mixed in a blender with thrillingly intense stealth action. And then they followed that masterpiece up with Silent Hill, which was horror creepiness the likes of which I'd never seen before. Walking into an elementary school and hearing faint child laughter, talking to a character only to have her start bleeding from every part of her head as she sobs for help? Holy shit! Out of college, I picked up a Game Boy Advance to keep me company on the night shift, and boy did I ever get my money's worth out of the Castlevania games. Circle of the Moon was good, but it felt a bit stiff and slow. The dash upgrade is a must to grab as soon as possible, and then use it constantly. Harmony of Dissonance gets the weirdest title award, but it gets props for finding a way to take the dual castle mechanic of Symphony of the Night and turn it on its ear. Aria of Sorrow was the best, though, with the tightest gameplay and the most fluid animation of the three. It's definitely the only one I actually perfected. Got 100% of souls, the map, everything. When the PlayStation 2 came out, I dabbled a little bit with Gradius 3 and 4, and then relived some arcade memories with Silent Scope, which sadly was never the same without the massive sniper rifle controller. And then Metal Gear Solid 2 completely swallowed my college years. I played the living hell out of this game for years. Unlike most people, I didn't mind Raiden, though Rose got on my nerves after a while. And the twists that pepper the last 2 hours of the game are some of the greatest mindfuckery that video games have ever known. My buddy Jorge turned me on to the slightly insane tactical strategy game Ring of Red, but it wasn't long before Silent Hill 2 appeared, and Konami shattered my mind again. Silent Hill 1 drew me in, but Silent Hill 2 owned me and refused to let go. It was the first game I ever did a save files video on, and it was the first game that ever legitimately made me cry. Breathtakingly brilliant from start to finish. There are more PS2 goodies, but I'm already running long, so I'll try to keep them short and sweet. Shadow of Destiny was an interesting experiment that didn't really get me. Zone of the Enders was a good game with a good story, but was pretty short. Contra Shattered Soldier is effective and fun, a proper 3D upgrade, but doesn't really evolve the series. Castlevania Lament of Innocence was another surprisingly fun 3D version of an old franchise, even if it didn't blow my mind. Silent Hill 3 was very good with some memorable creepy moments, but not as powerful as its predecessor. Psy-Girls was a neat blend of stealth and action, depending on which character you chose. Metal Gear Solid 3 was phenomenal, but I didn't love it as much as 2. Neo Contra was kind of iterative and impossible, but still sort of fun. Silent Hill 4 never really felt like a Silent Hill game, and I barely played Castlevania Curse of Darkness. I dabbled a bit with the DS, and again, the only Konami games I played were Castlevanias. Dawn of Sorrow was an excellent sequel to Aria of Sorrow, but the boss ceiling mechanic requiring the stylus felt a bit forced and unnecessary. Portrait of Ruin was an interesting departure from the norm, with 2 playable characters visiting a variety of locations, and some great puzzle solving along the way. Order of Ecclesia showed quite a bit of promise, but of the 3 Castlevanias on the DS, it's the only one I never finished. There's only one more game I really need to talk about, and that's Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PS3. Again, like Metal Gear Solid 2, I fell in love with this game for months, and played the hell out of it. The gunplay is fun while still rewarding stealth over firepower, and it neatly wraps up every last loose end from all the previous games, leaving one last great hurrah to a character I loved. I can't tell you how disappointed I was to hear that Snake would no longer be played by David Hayter. The man did one hell of a job. All the same, I own Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and I hope to get to both of them one day. And yes, I know I've missed a lot of games, but I haven't played every game Konami made, and I deliberately skipped the arcade. Even though Konami really was the king of the licensed brawler, between TMNT, Simpsons, and X-Men, Konami ruled the arcades in the early 90s. The point I'm trying laboriously to make, aside from the excuse to explore the epic collection of my favorite Konami games, is that they really did bring me a lot of joy, and contributed to some of my fondest gaming memories. I've done 4 Konami games as Save Files episodes, and I plan to do more in the future. Smarter people than I have dissected and investigated the hows and the whys of Konami leaving the video game industry, and I'll put links to my favorites in the info box below. But I guess all I really wanted to say was, thanks for everything, Konami. You'll be missed.